Yo, what's up, y'all? I'm Adam from Soulburnt, and yeah, so today I'm gonna try something a little new for my channel. I kind of want to just start talking about just other things that I like. I kind of just want, to start doing more things. So, before we get into the review, I just want to go ahead and say that this will be a spoiler review with lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the movie yet, please, I would discourage watching this video. Go see it. It's worth your time, I think. But yeah, so a few days ago, I went and saw the new James Gunn Superman movie. I've been really looking forward to this one for a while now. And apologies if I kind of stumble over my words. I've got my computer pulled up right here, and I've got like some notes I wrote down that I want to talk about here. So, obviously, the title is Low Effort Movie Reviews. I don't really want to make these I'm not trying to make these super professional. I'm just kind of doing these for fun. But yeah, so I went and saw the new Superman movie by James Gunn, and yeah, so I really liked it. I thought it was a really good time, and yeah, I've been really looking forward to it. So I guess, I don't really know how to transition, so, I guess I'll start off with the cast. Cast is really good in this, Corin Sweat, great as Superman. I think he brings a lot of warmth to the role. I like what he does. I think the actor they got for Lois was great, a lot of really good chemistry. The highlight of the movie, though, for me was definitely Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. He was really funny. He was really funny. I love, a lot of the jokes, the rage bait monkeys that actually had me, actually laughing in the theater. That was really funny. But he feels like a legit threat, too. He's really terrified. He feels like he's constantly in control. That scene, where he's interrogating Superman, and he's got, the citizen that Superman helped, and, he's threatening to shoot him. That's actually, a legit, really intense scene. You can really tell that, he's the one who's in control here. And, it makes it all the more satisfying when he inevitably goes down in the climax. I just thought that was really good. And a lot of the jokes with him are great, too. The incel rage scenes with him are really funny. And, actually, on the topic of the comedy, so something I did actually notice about this movie that I thought was kind of interesting. So, the comedy is definitely a little more restrained, I noticed, than in a lot of Gunn's last work. Not to say that there weren't jokes. There were a lot of jokes for sure. But, it did feel like there wasn't as much of an emphasis on them compared to something like Guardians, which I think that was the right move, given that this was a more serious story, a slightly more serious story, because, at the end of the day, it's not, super grimdark or anything, but I think it was the right move to maybe sort of make it a little less focused on being funny, which again, not that there weren't a good amount of jokes, there was definitely a fair amount of clips and stuff in the movie, but I didn't think there was anything to that. There were maybe a few scenes where I thought maybe the jokes did kind of undercut some emotional moments that I did kind of want to stick, that scene where Superman is with Mr. Terrific, and he's I'm doing important stuff. I don't know, that is kind of a little corny, but there are other jokes. I thought Guy Gardner was pretty funny. Lex was funny, as I said. The rage bait monkeys was funny. It is definitely a funny movie in a lot of parts. So yeah. And yeah, well, back to Lex, I think this movie really captures the spirit of his character really well, that he's just this big arrogant tyrant. And, that's why Superman doesn't like him. So, yeah, because, he hates Superman because he's not human, but Lex is, one of the least human people of all, He's cruel, he's arrogant, he sees himself as, basically being a god above everyone else, but, Superman, ironically enough, despite being a more godlike figure than him, is way more human than him. Which is, obviously the whole point of the movie. But I think the movie really did capture the spirit of that very well. And I thought Ultraman was really cool, too. I thought, the whole thing with him was cool, too. One of my friends, he said that, he didn't care much for Ultraman because, he thought that, it was kind of boring, that, he didn't have much agency. He was just kind of controlled by Lex. And I can see where he's coming from, but I thought that was kind of clever. So what I thought was clever about Ultraman in this is that he's basically the exact opposite of Clark. He's basically everything Clark does not want to be, and within the context, everything he could have been. Because, in this movie, Clark was sent to Earth by the Kryptonians because, so that, he could conquer it, And, Ultraman is basically everything that Clark does not want to be, because Clark wants to be a good person. He wants to, serve humanity. He wants to help us. But Ultraman, he's basically just a conqueror who is blindly following the wishes of tyrants. And I thought that was clever, how the movie contrasted them in that way. I thought that was cool. And I do wonder if maybe he's going to come back as like Bizarro, because clearly that's more so what they were trying to go for here. But yeah, I like what the movie did with Ultraman a lot. And I thought it was actually pretty clever that like he didn't have any agency either, because like it raises some interesting questions. Like, damn, like, was Superman only, like, if Superman were to become like a conqueror, would he only do it because like someone else told him to, like because like, you know, his Kryptonian parents told him to? I don't know. I thought Ultraman was just a clever character. I think he's definitely a cool take on the evil Superman formula, and he's a good example of why I'm definitely not opposed to the trope in the way that a lot of people are. So yeah, no, I liked Ultraman. I thought he was cool in this. So, you know, the Justice Gang was pretty fun too. I do kind of wish maybe we got a couple more scenes with them. Like, you know, we do get enough to where we get a sense of what their personalities are. You know, I thought they were all fun characters. I thought Guy Gardner was funny. You know, I thought Hawkgirl was fun. Mr. Terrific was fun, too. I don't know if I would quite agree with him, people saying, like, he's the Steel and Sewer like that, but he was a cool character for sure. I do kind of wish that maybe we got a couple more scenes to flesh him out a little, like, maybe to get some more context for for, like, why they helped Superman with Baravia, but, like, overall, I thought they were fun, you know. I liked what they brought to the movie thematically, too, because, like, you know, they're sort of, like, edgier heroes than Superman, and they're kind of like a little bit of a meta commentary on like how edgy superheroes have like kind of become mainstream in the past year, which, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with mainstream superheroes and all, but edgy superheroes, not mainstream, edgy, I'm sorry, but yeah. But yeah, no, I thought that was kind of cool that like they were sort of a commentary on that. Metamorpho is actually a character who really resonated with me, surprisingly, because I will go ahead and say I'm not someone with a lot of familiarity with the comics. Like, I'm familiar with a decent amount of characters, but like I'm not like a super hardcore comic person. Like, I haven't read a lot of comics, so I didn't really know much about Metamorpho going into this. But honestly, like, he really stuck with me. Like, I think his powers are really cool. I thought it was like really cool. Like, so I think that like the movie did a good job like getting you to sympathize with him. And yeah, no, like And I like what he brings to the movie thematically, too, because, like, he really emphasizes, because, like, the movie really emphasizes the main theme that Clark's biggest strength is, you know, that he inspires people to be the best they can possibly be. And I like how Metamorpho kind of helps expand on that a little, because, you know, he ends up, you know, he ends up face turning because Clark inspires him to do better, and I think that was a good way to show it. And yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of him. I thought he was a really cool character. So yeah, you know, I did see some people say that they didn't really care much for how the Daily Planet, you know, crew didn't get as much screen time. You know, I can see where they're coming from. I didn't mind that personally. I feel like we got to see just enough of them to where we really got a sense of what their individual personalities were. So I didn't really think that was a huge problem. I do kind of wish maybe we got to see more of Ma and Pa Kent, like, you know, especially with how much the movie kind of tries to emphasize, like, how important they are to Clark. I feel like maybe we could have gotten a couple more scenes with them just to, like, sort of flesh them out a bit more and build up their relationship. Because, like, you know, the scene where, like, Clark, you know, he has a heart-to-heart with Pa Kent, like, that's a great scene. And I do kind of wish maybe we got, like, another scene of that. You know, that would have been cool. Because, like, I do think, like, Clark's whole arc in this movie where, like, you know, he accepts his humanity, like, I think that is a great arc for him, and that's, like, a great scene for, like, continuing that arc. But, yeah, so I think that, I liked the messaging and the themes of this movie, too, like, because, you know, obviously, like, you know, the movie is, but, so, you know, the movie definitely has, like, a lot of, like, you know, commentary on, like, anti-Zionism and all that, because, like, obviously, you know, Baravia and I forgot how to pronounce the other country's name, but, you know, Baravia and that other country, they're definitely meant to be, like, a lot of people have definitely been drawing, like, Israel and Palestine comparisons for that, for sure, and, you know, I see that for sure, and, you know, I feel like it's also kind of obvious that they were sort of trying to go for, like, maybe Russia and Ukraine, too, some of that in there, too, because, obviously, like, you know, Baravia is clearly meant to be, like, Russia in some way, shape, or form, because, like, obviously they have, like, the Eastern Europe accents and everything. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the messaging was pretty well handled. I have seen some people say that they didn't care for it. They thought it was kind of shallow and not really subtle. And, I can see that, maybe it is a little shallow. I can kind of see that. I think, there's definitely some nuanced discussion to be had there. It definitely isn't a very subtle message for sure, but I didn't really mind it personally. I remember I saw like this one Letterboxd review where they were like, "Oh, James Gunn is like contributing to freaking neoliberalism or something, some dumb shit like that." Basically, they were trying to moral grandstand and act like the movie was like morally bankrupt because like it had flawed politics. I don't know. I hate those kinds of reviews so much. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the movie did handle its message well. It's not like the most deep political commentary thing ever, but see, the thing is, even if it's not subtle, the thing that really sets this movie apart from me is this. Because, whenever a movie doesn't have subtle messages, the question I always ask is, do they treat their audience like idiots? And, with this movie, I never got the impression that I was being talked down to. I never got the impression that I was being treated like an idiot. It felt like I was having my, intelligence respected, and like they were trusting me to put the pieces together for what it was supposed to be representing. So I didn't mind the message in this movie. No, action is good. I like the climax of this movie a lot, where like Superman has to like decide between Baravia and the rift in the city. Like I think that's a very good and very Superman dilemma for them, and I like that the movie tried to. Sorry, I like that how it paid off the Justice Gang's inclusion. I thought that was really clever. Like, even if I do wish maybe we got a little more scenes of them to really build that up a little more, I think the way it was paid off was really good. And I like how it paid off Metamorpho's little arc, too, because, like, obviously, like I said earlier, he was inspired a lot by Superman to be better, and, I feel like the Baravia War, like, that was a really natural payoff for that, so I like that a lot. One of the main criticisms I've seen of this movie so far is the fact that Superman is a bit of a jobber in this movie. Like, he definitely feels a little nerfed. I have mixed feelings on that personally. I like that he struggles in a lot of his fights too, because it does help keep the movie interesting. Like, obviously, Superman just bulldozing everyone like with no effort whatsoever. That would be boring. But like, at the same time, yeah, I do kind of, and I do like I said, how this movie emphasizes that, like, his biggest strength is that, he's human and that he tries to inspire people. But, at the same time, yeah, I do kind of wish maybe, like, he was a little stronger in this. Like, it is a little jarring, at some point seeing him lose 1v1s. Like, I thought it was good that he lost again. Like, him struggling against Ultraman, like, that makes sense because, he's a clone and all. But, like, I feel like maybe the movie could have shown him to be a little more competent. Like, it does make sense because, this is, like, a younger version of the character who is, like, not as established yet. But I don't know, maybe if, like, instead of 3 years, it was, like, 3 months or something, like, that would have worked a little better. But, yeah, I will concede that is something I think Snyder did do a little better. I think Snyder did do a little bit of a better job showing the sheer scale of Superman's power. But, that's not a huge issue, just something I did want to lay my 2 cents in on. Soundtrack, really good too. You guys know me. I'm a metal guy. Love me some cool-ass guitars. Soundtrack of this movie had cool-ass guitars and spades. So, yeah, worked for me. So, visually, I will say I think the movie's a bit of a mixed bag. Like, there's some really nice-looking shots. I appreciate that the movie tried to do a little more with color grading than most modern comic book movies, because like the apartment scene with the scene in Clark's apartment where Lois comforts him while the Justice Gang is fighting the interdimensional being, like I thought that stood out as like a really nice looking scene, like the way in which like the shadows were shot and like how it's juxtaposed against the Justice Gang. I thought that was really cool. That really stood out to me. But yeah, there's also something else that really stuck out to me in this movie's visuals. So during the scene where, like, Clark meets Lex for the first time, like, there's a shot where, like, he's screaming into Lex's face, like, loudly, and, like, Lex is just standing there, like, really stone-faced. So in the climax, they actually mirror that shot, but instead, the roles are reversed now. Now Lex is screaming into Superman's face, and Superman is just standing there, like, stone-faced. I thought that was really clever. I liked that a lot. I liked that little parallel. I thought that was a really clever and subtle way to show both just how much Superman has grown throughout this movie and how Lex has really lost control by this point in the movie. I thought that was really clever. There are some rough moments. There are a few rough moments, though. Like, there's definitely some moments of rough CGI here and there. Like, I think a good example is, that scene with Hawk Girl in the climax where, she drops "Not Putin." I feel like there was definitely some rough CGI there. Like, that scene with her face, like, I don't know, that did look a little off. I think a few of the scenes where, like, Superman is flying looks off, too. Like, it did look a little video gamey in some parts and not entirely convincing. I think the effects mostly looked good where it mattered most. Like, I thought the Green Lantern effects looked pretty great. I liked the effects on the Engineer. The Crypto model mostly looked pretty good. I liked when the movie used practical effects, too, like Metamorpho's outfit. That was cool, too. It does just feel, though, like the movie was trying to... It did just feel like maybe some of the CGI shots in the movie could have used a little more extra time in the oven. Like, there's nothing especially bad here. Nothing that, like, is, like, on the level of, like, I don't know, Flash or some of the recent Marvel stuff. But, yeah, definitely some hiccups here and there. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is a great movie, It's a bit of a mess, but, I just had a lot of fun watching it. Like, sure, it's got problems. It's a bit of a mess, but... I think it's a great start to the universe. It really got me excited to check out more. So yeah, I am going to give Superman a 9 out of 10, Maybe that's a little too high, I will admit. Maybe that could go down on future watchings. But yeah, I mean, I had just such a great time with this, and I definitely recommend going and giving it a watch. So yeah, thank you all for watching. If you guys want to, see more stuff like this from me in the future, I know this wasn't the most coherent video ever. I did kind of stumble over my words a bunch, but, again, this isn't meant to be, like, super professional. But, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see more stuff from me, just let me know in the comments, and let me know what I can improve on in future reviews. So, yeah, go check out my links down below. Check out my Instagram, my Letterboxd, if you guys want to see my other stuff. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys know what to do. I don't need to tell you, but, yeah, so thank you all for watching, and, yeah, this has been Adam from Soulburnt, signing out.